in 3, 2, 1. And welcome back to Janky AF and my Janky life. Well, through movie magic here, perhaps we can show you some of the time lapses that I took while doing this. I don't want to call it a project. It's just basically basic maintenance. And it's funny because I'm standing in the place where I think the first episode of my Janky life was shot, or at least where the the beginning of the video was shot. And we're probably, what was that, a year ago maybe, and what have we got done? Well, you could argue nothing, but I'll give you a little tour here. I sort of got a, what do they call it? A bee in my bonnet is like sort of the more kid-friendly way to say it. And I just started cleaning up the space. Now, maybe you saw in the last episode, this was just, this entire space was just covered with crap. I mean, the entire thing. I got this dingy old carpet that we really need to get rid of, but it's got sentimental value, blah, 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 to some members of the household. And so we got that, just like, breathing room, just be able to walk around in here is like, feels like a luxury. This clothing rack came from the show we just did. I think this just no good. I can't find a place to put this. It doesn't feel like it clutters up the space, but we had this table here. I moved this around, backed into the corner. And you vacuumed up this floor. It's got to get vacuumed better, but took all the clothing out of here. And already there's just so much more space in here. Now, the collateral damage is that this pristine space just a day ago now is filled with crap. However, it really won't be that bad to organize. This list here is all going out to the garage. Got some great old Dunlop bowling shoes. I've made bowling ball lamps in the past. I was thinking it'd be fun to do a pair of shoes and then, the rod of the lamp coming out of there, and then a bowling ball sitting on top of it, and then a lamp. So that's one piece of junk. Now, you're asking why I wouldn't wear these. Well, when one of them, these were my daily drivers when I went bowling. But now this is, and I know you can glue it back together, but I feel like with something like bowling, it's just going to come undone. So we'll use that for a lamp. Anywho, neither here nor there. We got some American flags. I always forget what this thing is called. There's a name for it. It's like a Peter Meyer, Niedermeyer box or something like that. And it's like basically a super cheap way to create an air filtration system. And I really like, janky DIY hacks. Perhaps you've seen them. They were big for a while. And so I got my fan and the funny thing is, these don't say it on it, but these are actually, the name of this company when I bought them is Aerostar, which is very, very funny. That's why I bought them. But unfortunately, on the actual thing itself, it doesn't say Aerostar anywhere. So that's a bummer. But basically you make a box with these air filters and a fan, and it's a good air filtration system. Excuse me. So I'm going to try to put that down here. Also, I got to vacuum up all this dust off the brick and try to seal it with something just to clear. I don't want to paint it because I like the look of the stone. But those are a couple last steps to get this room really functioning. Maybe we block off this area a little bit, and then if we have an air filtration down here, I'm not going to feel like I'm just, constantly living in dust. Although I was down here for a good couple hours last night and didn't feel like it really bothered me too much. I think we got really, really lucky with this basement. And Janky, thank you to all the comments. People always praising the house. We are very incredibly fortunate to have this house. This was just like random miscellaneous junk, and now I'm making it like a very intentional, dedicated space for painting stuff. So we have our big roller tray, rollers. We have a tape box that's overflowing. We have mini roller trays with some tennis balls for some reason. Our 9-inch rollers, 9-inch roller trays, both plastic and metal. We have our handy paint color palette, handy pals. We have brush covers. I need to wash out a ton of brushes. But so on to say, I think it's I don't know. I never know with the thing, if you want your name called out, if it's like, oh, it feels nice to have your name called out, or if you don't want like a parasocial relationship, or if you want to remain anonymous, but you're making a public comment. But I think Seb Banky, we'll call you, leaves a lot of comments, and Janky do thank you. And yes, the idea of reorganizing a space something incredibly cathartic about it, and it is like this filtration device wherein as you're organizing, you sort of realize what you want, what you don't want, and giving things a new home can be very satisfying because someone else will appreciate the thing. You know, when I just did this pop-up show, people were really happy to get these items that I thought were really cool, but just wasn't using, wasn't wearing. So it's almost like selfish in a way to just hoard that thing that someone can be enjoying just to say you have the thing, but you never actually use it. One of these days we'll get our electrical panel door back on. So you can see this is like quite the nest. And of course, none of it's labeled, so we're gonna have to go throughout the whole house, just take a day and just like, or a couple hours, whatever, and you know, get two people on the phone and say, what is this? What does this do? What does that do? Which would be nice to know. But yeah, the house, you know, we got the furnace going, the laundry going. The house was we were able to purchase the house because it was owner financed, to play a little inside baseball here, and that's the only way we would not have, you know, I'm self-employed, and the sweetheart was self-employed at the time, so we just wouldn't have qualified for. There's a lot of advantages to self-employment, but you kind of get, there's a lot of disadvantages too in terms of the eyes of, you know, the people that hold all the money, and we're just the bottom feeders. But if you can find someone to owner finance you, someone you can have a mutual trusting relationship with, then they become the bank, and it's like, yes, we are paying interest. It's not as high as interest rates are for, you know, the common person walking into your bank or going to Rocket Mortgage, so that's nice. But I would rather give that interest money to someone who I know and I trust and has, you know, given me the lowdown on a house anyways. Like, I'd rather give that interest to a private person than just another, you know, like cherry on top of the bank's mountain of interest. Anywho, so this is another collateral damage area. And, you know, you got to do things, you got to find little loopholes isn't the right word because that connotes like a tax haven in Cancun, but you do have to find little ways, little janky workarounds to try to get things that, you know, you want to have. And there's always ways to do stuff. Like, here's a good example. I mean, this is a micro example, but this bucket of paint right here, now you can see I have all these 18-inch rollers, and these hold a ton of paint. So when I wash these out, I'll squeegee them out, and I have almost, well, probably about half a gallon worth of paint that just was squeegeed out of those rollers. And it sounds stupid, and it's like, well, maybe it's not even worth the time it takes to do that, but it's really just a mindset. And now, you know, I have all this paint, yes, but you never know when you might just want a gallon of neutral paint. And, you know, aside from that, it's less paint that's going into my 5-gallon bucket that I'm going to dump outside. Now, the nice thing about these is that if you let them sit long enough, all the sort of pigmented paint will float to the bottom or sink to the bottom, kind of coagulate. Then when you're dumping out the water, it's like, you know, 90-95% water. I wouldn't drink it, but you're left with this like sort of paint crust at the bottom that's like hardened, and then you can, you know, either just go back to the well and fill up the bucket again, or eventually, you know, you scrape out your bucket here and you can see this crust. So then now you're not dumping all this nasty stuff either into your septic or just into the, you know, the groundwater generally, and you can just toss that in the garbage. And yeah, it still goes to a landfill, I know, but you know, we're all bound by the existences that we, you know, have fallen into here. Anywho, it feels so much more spacious in here, and it's just a little step we have. I love organizing because it's like, well, bags. This is just bags. This is where bags go. You have duffel bags, you have sport bags, you have reusable bags, you have trash bags, you have more reusable bags. So many reusable bags. Bags and rags. So we got our rags down here, clean rags there, dirty rags are gonna go over there. We have our little cleaning station there. Ping pong supplies, which, you know, it doesn't really fit into the whole thing, but I hope it's not too loud with all this crazy activity going on. Hopefully this microphone's doing its job. Anyways, I got some brushes to wash. I'm way behind on my brush washing, and this stuff starts to stink after a while. And sometimes if you leave a brush too long, sometimes it can be good because the paint kind of drains out of it, just like I'm saying with the buckets, but other times the brushes will kind of start bending and curving on you. So it's got to find that happy medium. So this is a collateral damage area. I'm gonna have to spend a couple hours just washing out all these rollers. But that's the other thing, like one of these 18-inch rollers is like $15. You know, a lot of times the customers, they don't want them. What are they going to do with them? So they'll, you know, basically I discard them for them. I wash them out, and then I have a free 15-inch roller. And I will say, it's not always just for me. A lot of times I'll be at a job, you know, there'll be a customer there, it's already white ceiling paint or whatever, or I just have a roller lying around. Rather than driving to the store, spending a half an hour, 40 minutes, spending another $15, $18, driving back, spending money on gas. If I have an 18-inch roller, I'll just use it. It's like, you know, yeah, I could upcharge 10% or 20% on that roller and make $4, but then I'm driving into town. It just doesn't make sense at a certain point. So I'm happy to, if I have extra stuff, I just use it, and, you know, everybody benefits. And yes, I know, like, this is the thing of capitalism. Like, boy, I hope that's not too loud. This isn't even on a high spin cycle. Like, it probably takes more time to wash out that roller than it would just to go buy another roller if you do like an hourly rate at how long it takes you to wash out that roller. But, you know, in a pinch, it's just always a luxury to have more inventory. And, you know, I'm just sort of the crazy, janky person that would spend their free time washing out a roller cover just because it gives me some sort of pleasure or satisfaction. All right, our final collateral damage area is this, and this is kind of my style, is like, you know, I want to get everything, you have to do things in steps. So anything that I just doesn't really have categorization to it. This poor green toilet, I was going to give this as a wedding gift. This is disappointing. And the bottom is cracked here. So I know that your rubber washer is on the other side to hold the water in, but I don't feel real confident that that's not going to leak water, and I would hate to give someone, you know, a wedding gift that's basically, you know, an expensive water leak. So unfortunately, I think we'll have to find another green toilet, or just come up with a different plan for what I was going to do for them. So collateral damage here. Ooh, actually I need one of these big garbage bags because we're going to do another. I've thrown away so many of these garbage pails, or paint cans. Still in the, you know, you got your drywall tape here, and so we're still in the organization phase, but we're getting there. It was a major, some odorless mineral spirits here. I'll put this over by the, try not to keep the mineral spirits too close to the furnace and the hot water heater. It's running on propane. There you go, one little step. But it just felt good, so good to come down here last night and organize all this stuff. I gotta go to work now. This is just random tools. These all gotta get sorted and located in a place. But just to have a space, I don't know, there was a bunch of stuff under here. I cleared this out. I don't know what I'm gonna do with this space. It would make sense to put shelving in here. Maybe I put paint in here, but I was thinking about putting all this paint from this shelf down here, and then that would open up this shelf and this space to have just like more room for whatever. But whatever's down here is not going to be super accessible. So it's like, what do I sort of like access the least, but also, you know, I could just put my water buckets down there. That'd probably be a smart thing to do, because they start to pile up here. But it'd be nice to use this space for something. Garbage is overflowing. We got to do another load of garbage. Every time it's a weird feeling, but every time I take a big load of garbage out, I'm like, okay, that's like, you know, whatever, 5 less gallons of crap I have in my house, and I don't like filling up the landfill. That's the last thing I want to do. But again, you know, we're working with what we got here, and humans are a terribly wasteful species, so we're just trying to, you know, curtail that as much as possible here on Janky AF. So there you have it. Another little tour of the basement. We're on a roll in the basement here, and you know, this is where I started out, and I still want to paint these floors, but if you paint with oil in here, the furnace just picks up the air and shoots it through the entire house. So I don't know, we might have to do that in the summer. Turn the furnace off, open up all the doors and windows, tell the sweetheart to go on vacation for a couple of days and just like paint it, because it really does, I think it really does improve the space, and it gets much less dirty down here. And that's my goal, is to sort of eventually, it's never going to be a finished basement, but to get it, you know, vacuum up all these cobwebs and just kind of keep the dust down to a minimum, so when you come down here, you don't feel like you're in, you know, like a war zone. Maybe you wouldn't want to sleep down here, but if you want to come and tinker on a project or do laundry or hang out in this little bonus room, then you don't feel like you're, again, in like some sort of a bomb shelter or something like that. Although bomb shelters nowadays are $20 million luxury facilities, so just passing me right by. Okay, there you go. Eventually we'll get there. The great, you know, whiteboard situation working too. That system, unfortunately, is how many times I try to make it take has not taken yet, but we'll get there. So thank you for coming along. It's been a pleasure to organize this space. It was a lot of fun, and I don't know why that's my idea of fun, but you know, there's all sorts of people with big lives out there on YouTube, and it's very cool to see, and I can't help but get a little jealous sometimes. But I guess, you know, seeing all the comments like, oh, your house is so cool, like, it's all relative for one, so that's kind of nice. So I appreciate those comments, you know, to like do like self-help ego death hour here. But anyways, no, it's cool. It's hard to find, you know, your place and where you fit into all of it. But I guess these are sort of like, you know, luxurious problems to have, and that's, I guess, we gotta try to keep remembering. It's like I think everyone wants to. I always say everyone's trying to raise their ceiling, which is true, but I think like raising the floor is more important. Like if we could have, like everyone wants to have like a supercar or whatever, but it's like, well, what if we just had less people that were like living in abject poverty? Wouldn't that be better? You know, not to get into, you know, I don't know, economic theory or whatever. But so it's like what's the Johnny Cash song about keeping up with the Joneses? Anywho, next time I'll come a little bit more prepared with my referential material. All right, I'm gonna put these cans away. I'm gonna wash some brushes. I gotta go to work, and whenever we can get back here, sort of like really start to get this area, we do have to come up with like sort of a horsey room situation, because this is another final area of collateral damage here. But we'll get there. We've opened up a lot more space, and now it's just like the fun part of like, how does everything fit in the little puzzle? How can we do things efficiently? And I really like this basement. I don't know why. I end up spending a lot of time down here, and that's why I kind of want to turn this into like sort of like a painting office creation studio, because I think it's like free space, which I mentioned last episode if you watched. Okay, that's it for now. We'll wrap up where we began, in front of this lovely green toilet. We thank you so much for watching. All the engagement's lovely, and thanks for sort of hanging out with you know, Beef Janky here on My Janky Life. We'll have another one coming for you very soon, and more Aerostar stuff. I promise that's coming soon. Maybe even get a car review or two out here if we have any time this in February. Okay, we will see you again very soon. Thank you very much, and as always, Janky do thanky.